this is a very serious issue, and I want you to listen to it and give your full attention to it. And of course, we talk about it. An Igbo adage states, when a deity starts giving much trouble, it will be shown the wood from which it was carved from. There are lines that are never crossed in culture and tradition and in national life. Such red lines keep the society going and coherent. And the Igbo society is a highly organized one and imbued in deep and rich culture and tradition, of which most of it, not all IPOB members are part of, including their factional leader, NNAMDI KANU. Igbo culture holds murder and its intent as the highest crime against the society and humanity. The most recent attack in KANU's order is to his supporters is to stone NWODO to death anywhere he's found anywhere in the world. His words, anywhere you see him outside, stone him to death. KANU further called on God to destroy OHANEZE, turning round to blame NNIA for its main atrocities in the southeast, or Operation Python Dance is just a case of giving a dog a bad name in order to hang it, and psychologically a misplaced aggression and priority. So this article, I'm bringing it forward so we can actually work it out. Let's work it out. Let us see. Do you think that the judgment passed on NNWODO is right? Or do you think no man should be able to pass judgment on the other? I want us to look into this, as we know that there are a lot of saboteurs that are not ready for a break of Nigeria, as they are benefiting, or maybe they are afraid, or maybe they have looked in and out of it and they think that the breakaway of Nigeria and having Biafra is not going to work. NNAMDI KANU is said to have been attacking OHANEZE and Igbo for not accepting Biafra now, of the faction of IPOB, which he leads. The generality of Indigbo seems resolved that it is in their best interest to push for a restructured Nigeria. Self-determination is possible within a fully restructured Nigeria as obtained in the country prior to 1966 and the Civil War. The position of Indigbo is contained in the Oka Declaration of 2018. So these are two different groups. One saying that we want restructuring, and this restructuring, I've listened to NNIA, and what he said is that having a president from the southeast of Nigeria, or from any part of Nigeria, is simply sectional aggrandizement to the people, because the constitution itself is jaundiced and it cannot afford anybody that steps in there to do what he needs to do. And aside that, what he did not mention is that the governors of all the states are criminals. Even the one that has been given enough money to manage a state, let's say Anambra State, let's say Imo State, and the rest of them, they are criminals. So this has nothing to do with the North. So we should be very careful. It has nothing to do with the North. It has to do with that person who loves and likes what the structure is all about, because it benefits them. Very important that we look into these things too. So he also talked about a country where each region is allowed to manage their resources. So when you look at any talk about restructuring, and that talk is centered on resources, there you know that there is a problem. You know why? I'll tell you. You see, somebody that cannot manage 10% will not manage 100. So resources is not the issue. Yes, I understand that there are people saying, oh, look at what is happening in the Niger Delta region, where their resources are being taken to go to Abuja and make other places fine and all of that. But I asked myself a question afterwards. I said, okay, this is true. This is true. This is injustice, which is correct. Then I said, what next happened in any of those places when the militants who claim that they are fighting for freedom? What did they do with all the money they amassed? Did they change the lives of their village? No, they didn't change the life of their people at all. Many of them ran out. They went to build universities outside. They built mansions here and there. They became big boys. So it's more or less like they fought for themselves alone and their own family. It's got nothing to do with the town or the village in general. Or have you found any of them that are sponsored probably 500 or 200 or even 20 out of Nigeria to go study? No, many of them did not do any of this. So it is not just the issue of the North, it's about ourselves as people. So restructuring based on resources should not be the first. it is not the first. Let us deal with ourselves from within. So, with this, he said, from a restructured Nigeria, he claimed that then they can talk about self-determination. When NNAMDI KANU was released from Kuje prison through the intervention of some Igbo leaders, they said he now insults and assaults Senator Ike Ekweremadu, who organized the men who stood shorties for NNAMDI KANU's bail. And they said he was the first victim of NNAMDI KANU's group in Nuremberg, Germany. Efforts were made to reconcile him with many of them, including NWODO, Ben Nwabueze, Eze Ozubu, Dozier Ikedithe, and many others, some original founders of IPOB, many of whom he similarly pronounced death on their heads in Radio BIAFRA. He held meetings with many of them where fresh understanding was reached and a new leaf supposedly turned. The second meeting between NNAMDI KANU and OHANEZE and its President General, NWODO, was again agreed to and a date set for it. There was a disagreement over the venue. While NNWODO legitimately wanted the second meeting to be held in his house or at the OHANEZE Secretariat, which KANU acceded to initially, NNAMDI KANU, later insisted that the meeting should be held anywhere but in Chief NWODO's house. This was the same time his meeting with Southeast governors took place. A second meeting was scheduled between him and the governors, but Operation Python Dance 2 was preemptively launched by the Nigerian army days before, which presumably drove NNAMDI KANU underground and out of the country. He resurfaced in Jerusalem, Israel, 1 year after, where he was seen praying by the Wailing Wall. The remnants of the Jewish temple destroyed by the Romans in 70 CE during the siege of Jerusalem. Since then, KANU has held tenaciously to the position that NNWODO and the Southeast governors invited Operation Python Dance 2. He blamed everybody else but himself, since he failed to see that apart from violating all his bail conditions, he rattled the nation's security system, especially the military, by launching the so-called BIAFRA security services. Hundreds of IPOB youth were seen in parades fully ornamented in black uniforms and red berets, proclaiming the birth of BSS and NNAMDI KANU as a commander-in-chief. This, they said, could be interpreted as a precursor to armed struggle, which NNAMDI KANU assured Igbo leaders that IPOB will never engage in. Operation Python Dance 2 came in the wake of the launching of Biafra Security Service. Justified or not, it was a military intervention. It took a military intervention to nip it in the bud, a paramilitary preponderance which NNAMDI KANU himself brought about. In other words, Operation Python Dance was ostensibly invited by KANU and IPOB paramilitary actions, which were suggesting that they were ready for an armed struggle, whereas they were not. Turning around to blame NNWODO for Operation Python Dance is just a case of giving a dog a bad name, they said. And as a matter of fact, they said OHANEZE actually condemned Operation Python Dance and demanded that the military be withdrawn from Igbo land, which the media widely carried. NNAMDI KANU and IPOB may be saying the right thing, but certainly they said he's saying it in a wrong way. Leaving him and IPOB to continue as a loose cannon would mean acquiescing to their rant and narration as Igbo position. He and IPOB have represented the Igbo grossly since he resurfaced in Israel. Now, they come to think of it, is OHANEZE and its President General really in position to stop the atrocities of the Fulani herdsmen in the East? OHANEZE is not a security organization, but a pan-Igbo NGO saddled with advocacy for the betterment of the Igbo people in Nigeria. The most OHANEZE can do is to push for better security in the Southeast and in Nigeria in general. So who will fight for the people of Biafra? Who will fight for the Igbos? That's the question. Advocacy is therefore the stock in trade of OHANEZE and similar ethnic-based organizations, and the OHANEZE has done what they think they can do in the circumstances in which we live today. Those holding the constitutional powers and resources to do anything about the Fulani herdsmen atrocities in Igbo land are the governors, who are the chief security officers of their respective states. Yet, none of them are doing anything at all. None of them are doing anything. Now, they now said, if NNAMDI KANU has not pronounced death on the inaction of many of them, why would he pronounce death sentence on the only voice left in the zone? If we leave NNIA Abaribe and one other two out of this for a moment, NNWODO cannot do more than advocate for Igbo cause than he has done excellently well. He cannot harm Igbo youth. to chase herdsmen out of Igbo land. Only vigilante operation authorized by governors can actually effect that. So this will result to community policing that you have in the southwest of Nigeria called the Amotekun. So the reason for Nnamdi Kanu's constant attack on NNIA is not checking the Fulani herdsmen atrocity or so much for insecurity in the southeast, but part of the IPOB broad plans to destroy OHANEZE as a umbrella body for Igbo. That is the role Nnamdi Kanu desires, and they say it covets for IPOB. Question is this: can what Nnamdi Kanu and IPOB are doing really for the Igbos, what he represents, what he wants? Do you think IPOB and Nnamdi Kanu are now more of the problems than the solution to the Igbo man's problem in Nigeria? Or do you think they are actually moving forward and making sure that they crush the aggressors and crush those that are hell-bent on making sure that people that are unfortunately trapped in that contraption called Nigeria continue to suffer? Do you think OHANEZE has the tools to do what it has to do? Or do you think every one of them should focus on what they have to do? If OHANEZE is just an NGO, is a pan-Igbo group, do what you have to do constitutionally. If your ideas on how to run, how to create a form of peace or a conducive environment for the Igbos is by asking for restructuring and all of that, well, I think that is what they think, and that's what they are doing. And if IPOB believes that the way out of this is to take another direction, and that direction is calling for a total break, well, I believe that that is his own message, and he should be allowed to do his own. Every man face your business and do what you have to do. Nigeria is a contraption. It should have, it has, in fact, the fake contraption has already expired already. So it's a terrible thing. We need to call a spade a spade. It is not working. It has to break.